Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you guys doing? Excellent. I hope everyone is enjoying themselves today and increasing in their knowledge at IlmFest here in Minneapolis. And I would like you to join me in thanking all our great instructors this morning for the knowledge that they have shared with us, and they will share for the rest of the day, inshallah. Now our next speaker is a long-term member and supporter, not only for the Minneapolis, but also the broader American Muslim community. Brother Keith Ellison's path in life certainly reads as that of a true pioneer in every respect of the world. While Keith is a well-known figure to most of us in the broad American Muslim community, I would like to take a moment to congratulate Keith for his trailblazing leadership over the years, achieving multiple milestones as an American Muslim, also as an African American. We are indeed blessed as a nation and community that one can rise from a humble beginning to become the first Muslim American congressman, the first Muslim American deputy head of a major national political party, and most recently, as the first Muslim American state attorney general. Further evidence of the barakah and blessing we enjoy today is the many wonderful members of the American Muslim community Keith has inspired to serve our nation, including the incoming Congresswoman and our dear sister Ilhan Omar for the great city of Minneapolis. We will soon hear from our special guest, followed by a question and answer managed by a long-term friend of AlMaghrib Institute, a former advisor to the U.S. government at the state and federal levels, Brother Muhammad Ribiari. We will be broadcasting the event, and people can post their questions online, and it will be taken and introduced to Keith Ellison in the question and answer session after his short talk. Now please join me in welcoming our dear brother and the next Attorney General of the great state of Minnesota, the Honorable Keith Ellison.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear respected brothers and sisters, a little bit more than 12 years ago, you all sent me to the United States Congress. You sent me there, and when I arrived, no one had ever been a Muslim who was in Congress before. And I did what I thought was natural to do. I swore in on the book of my faith, Al-Kitab, the Quran, and it was the property of Thomas Jefferson at one time. But on this January 3rd, coming up, 2019, there will be 3 Muslims in Congress, and I won't be one of them. There'll be 3, and I won't be one of them, and 2 of the 3, 66% of them, will be female. I mention this to you because I know that you all work hard. You all work hard and you achieve things. You worked hard for that car, you work hard for that house, you work hard for that bank account, you work hard for that title that you earned. Maybe you're the vice president of that company now, and you're so proud. But never be afraid to let go of something if the opportunity to do something else that you regard as more fulfilling and important presents itself. Don't cling to it. I ask God to allow me to never see myself as a congressman. I want to see myself as a believer who's in Congress. And I want you to see yourself the same way in all of your endeavors. Because that bank account, that car, that title, all of these things that we work hard for and cling to, all of them can be gone like that. And the only thing you can depend upon is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't you remember when Hagar was left in the desert by Ibrahim? She didn't have a man to depend upon. She didn't have a shovel. She didn't have an army. She didn't have a bunch of people looking after her. She didn't have a camel. She didn't have anything but a child who was depending upon her. And she ran back and forth looking for the help of Allah. And did it come? It came. And it'll come for you too. But you have to have that faith. So when I decided, hey, you know what? I'm running for Minnesota Attorney General. You better believe some people told me, Brother Keith, don't you know they never elected a Muslim statewide in any state in the United States? Don't you know no African-American person ever was elected statewide in Minnesota? Brother, you pushing your luck, even being in Congress, at all. And you know they're going to attack you. They know that if you, in a very human way, ever did anything human, which means make mistakes, even commit sins, you know they're going to put all up of that and tear you apart with it. But then I thought something else. You know what I thought? I thought, you know what? In this great country of ours, there are diabetics. And the insulin that they depend upon has gone up 1,200% in the last 20 years. I met a lady whose son was named Alex. He was 26 years old, therefore he aged out of the protection of the Affordable Care Act. And he could not get money to help him pay for the high price of his insulin, so he started cutting his dosages. And one day he went into something called ketoacidosis. You know what that is? That's when your blood starts turning to acid because you're not making insulin. And he died because he couldn't afford the medication that he depended upon to preserve his life. Oh, and what about the young lady who depended upon a drug called Daraprim? She had a disease called toxoplasmosis, and she needed this medicine, and it used to cost $13 a dosage, then it went up to over $800 a dose. What about her? Or what about the people who need that EpiPen? Oh, and what about all the students who were told that if they go to this for-profit college, they can get a degree in law enforcement? Oh, but the institution was not accredited to grant that degree. They took the money, people even took out debt, and yet at the end of that, they were left with a lot of debt and no degree and no ability to pursue their dream. Oh, and what about the lawsuit where the big company poured all the poisons into the river and you can't even turn the tap on and drink out of it because a company making a product that made it money doesn't want to clean up the river? You know who can help solve a problem like that? An attorney general. We can take him to court tomorrow, the next day. Oh, and what about my friend who is a very smart woman, immigrated from Iran many years ago, started a good company, made so much money, she had money enough to build a foundation. Now, if you got enough money from your company that you got so much extra you're going to build a foundation, then you got a lot of money. That's the kind of money she had. And she used that foundation to bring children from Iran who needed medical procedures that they could not get there here. But then somebody said he didn't want no more Muslims in the country and banned her country from being able to come to the United States. So children in need of medical assistance now banned from getting the treatment that they need and could save their life. As a Minnesota Attorney General, I can take them to court. I can sue them for this. I can hold them accountable under the law. Whereas a member of Congress, remember, members of Congress write laws. We need good ones. I want you to be one day, inshallah. But if you can't get 218 people and the Senate and the president to all agree, then you cannot move that. You understand that? If you can get the best idea in the world, and if you can't move it because you don't get the nut votes, then you can go on CNN or MSNBC and give a speech or go to the House floor and pound on the lectern and talk about how wrong it is, but you can't do nothing about it. But as a Minnesota Attorney General, you can do a lot about it, and you can do it pretty quickly. So I decided to go in this direction because I have a burning desire for a just society. And I pray to God that you do too. So I'm going to be sworn in, inshallah, on January 7th. And I'm going to stand up and I'm going to work hard to represent the people of this state to fight every single day that they have justice. And I'm going to work with attorneys general of other states to make sure that we band together and make justice not just a Minnesota thing, but something that we can enjoy all over the country. There are some great attorneys general out there. You should get to know the one that represents you. Anybody here from California? I can't really see it because the lights are shining really bright in my eyes. Anybody here from Illinois? Yeah, you got a great attorney general. He's coming in. His name is Kwame Raoul, and you should get to know him. Do y'all know him? Call him up. Tell him you want to meet him. Or if anybody from Massachusetts, Maura Healey, wonderful attorney general. Or anybody from New York, Tish James, coming into Attorney General's office from New York. You all should meet these people and talk to them about the issues that the Muslim community is facing in your town. Anybody who's not from Minnesota, raise your hand. So there's a good number. Now, everybody else, I'm your Attorney General. You want to talk to the Attorney General, you call me. All right? But I just want to let you know that we live in a moment and we live in a time where, yes, some folks are bombing synagogues, shooting people up at synagogues, and other folks are bombing mosques. Some folks are shooting up synagogues and bombing mosques. We got haters and we got racists and we got bigots all out there. And even some people feel that they have a friend in the White House. And they're walking down the streets of Charlottesville talking about, you will not replace us. Who they talking about? I think they're talking about you. But never forget and always remember that most of your neighbors really do appreciate you a lot. People of other faiths now. I'm talking about people who are Jewish or Christian or Hindu or have no faith. They appreciate you. They appreciate that you stand for justice, that you care about people, that you believe in fair dealing in your business practices, that you have a priority for our children, that you believe in the dignity of women, that you believe in all these things. They know that about you, and they think and they appreciate that you're a good neighbor. And you may be the person they want to be their city council member. You may be the person they want to be their state legislator. We had a brother who's a Muslim running for a state legislature out in Blaine and came within about 150 votes of winning. Did you know that? I'm tired of these Muslims telling me, oh, we can't win, brother. We can't win, we're Muslim. Muslims are winning all over the place. Have a little faith. Give God a chance, right? Maybe you will win. And even if you don't win, maybe you'll be able to raise issues of critical importance that the community can no longer ignore because you raised the issue and you argued for it and you made it a point in the debate and everybody had to then deal with it. There's more than one way to win. Let me tell you, in this last election, we won in so many ways they're hard to count. Let me tell you, one night, and it was a late night, we invited, and I asked a dear friend of mine who deserves your applause, Omar Suleiman, who spoke to you earlier. I said, Brother Omar, would you consider in your busy travel schedule stopping off in Minnesota? He said, well, look, brother, I got to go here and I got to go there, and I just got traveling. But we'll try to carve you out a little time. Let me see what I can do. And what he could do was actually pretty good because even though his flight was delayed, he managed to get into Minnesota, and he went to Dar al-Farouk Masjid, and he talked to about 100 or so. Correct me if I'm wrong on the number. Am I right about that? About 100 folk. Yeah, I see somebody nodding approvingly. who had been phone banking every day to fellow Minnesotans about the urgency and importance of getting out to vote. And he gave one of the finest explanations about the importance of Muslims serving community and being a part of the community in which they live that I've ever heard, which was somewhat ironic because he had been on a delayed flight. It was late at night. I had been campaigning in a very tough campaign, and like that's not when you're going to do your best speech, but somehow he did a fantastic one that night. And the thing I think, as he and I talk later, that really struck him is that the Muslim community hasn't only gone from no Muslims in Congress to one, now three, and the first one is now not part of those three. We've gone from a community that was in a defensive crouch, somewhat concerned about the racists and the bigots and the haters, to a community that is actively engaging at the grassroots, Muslims and others outside of the community. That is a very important thing. Because you can find somebody who wants to run. That's not important. A lot of folks think, hey, I can run, I'll run. You can do that. But to get people to say, I don't want to run, not now, but I will go sit on this phone bank and call and dial people who I don't even know to encourage them to be part of this democratic project. Because I want a society where there's large participation. Because I know when everybody participates, we come up with better outcomes. Let me tell you this, it was a beautiful night. And how many people who had never volunteered for anything before were so excited that they had been on the phone talking to their neighbors about the importance of getting out to vote. It was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing. And I think maybe, in God's infinite wisdom, he blessed Omar Suleiman to give that wonderful speech that night in honor of those volunteers who had given so much for the sake of lifting up the voice of the people. You know what I mean? Maybe that night God just said, I'm gonna put you on fire tonight, brother, because these people deserve it. I don't know. Who can contemplate the mind of Allah, right? But my point is that we're moving forward as a community. And it's important, and I'm going to close here. It's important that we keep this in mind because we've got to remember that, it hasn't always been December 15th, 2018. We remember well the year 2001. We remember the Islamophobia, the hate, the fear. We remember these things. We remember the sister got smashed in the face with a big glass because she was speaking another language. We remember the two brothers got shot in Dinkytown because they're Muslim. We remember these things, and we remember the hate and the vitriol coming from political leaders. But none of this ugly stuff is stopping us from standing up and offering to our community that which God has blessed us to have. You understand what I'm trying to say today? This is so important. I said many years ago that if you're not at the table, you will be on the menu. It's still true. It's still true. But I also want to tell you, I don't want you to engage in politics just because you want to look out for the interests of your community. Because America has enough self-interested ethnic groups only concerned about themselves. We need some people who have a sense of the common good, who want to see society be fairer, be cleaner, be greener, be more just, be more open, care about the education of all children, no matter what their faith or what their color is. We need people like that. If we have folks like that, our society, inshallah, will be better. But it's going to take you. It's not going to happen by magic. It's going to happen by faith, your commitment. So with that, brothers and sisters, I just want to say thank you for inviting me here today. I want to remind you that we have Muslim Day on the Hill coming up. I want to urge y'all all to come. And if you're not from Minnesota, you need to do a Muslim Day on the Hill in your state. We don't want 4 or 5 people there. We want to fill up the place. We're going to invite the governor. If you invite the attorney general, maybe he'll show up. And I want to let you know that it's such an honor and such a privilege to be one of your brothers. Jazakallah khair, barakallah feek.
Before we start the question and answer, I had this to be presented later, but I thought it's a great opportunity before Sheikh Omar Suleiman leaves to join me on behalf of AlMaghrib Institute and our chapter here in Minnesota and the Muslim community abroad in the United States to present this award to Brother Honorable Keith Ellison and Pioneer Award presented to the Honorable Keith Ellison for your trailblazing leadership, IlmFest, December 15, 2018.
You got anybody to take a picture of us?
Yeah, we have the camera over there.
Oh, yeah, over there, okay.